Hi, I'm Scott Gerner with PoolKits.com. I'll be your tour guide throughout this video. You ever dream of owning your own pool? This video is designed to help you achieve that dream. Your own pool in your own backyard. Built by you at half the price. If you've decided to view this video before purchasing your pool from PoolKits.com, it'll surely help you in your decision-making process. If you've already purchased your pool and you're looking at a huge pile of hardware, don't panic. First of all, congratulations. You've purchased the right stuff from the right people. The equipment is the industry's best, not only the highest quality, but the most user-friendly as well. This video will take you through all the steps necessary to build your pool from start to finish. We'll even cover items needing consideration prior to construction, such as your permit, proper placement of the pool, and setting the right elevation. You may find it helpful to review back to particular chapters in the video as construction progresses. Prior to starting construction on your new pool, check your local building codes governing residential pools. Although many rural areas don't require a building permit, most towns and communities do. Be sure to check the regulations and restrictions in your area by contacting the local city hall or the government offices. The building permits can usually be obtained by drawing your pool on a plot plan, clearly marking the distance between the pool and the house and the property lines. In some cases, however, they require a set of sealed drawings. No, that's not drawings of seals. It is a seal of a licensed engineer in your state. These drawings can be obtained from one of several engineers, and here's a couple you may want to contact. Now that we know where the city planners don't want us to put the pool, let's take a look at where we should put it. We should consider things such as sunlight. An open sky to the south and west is good for soaking up the rays. Trees are okay as long as they're not directly overhead and there's not too many of them. Where's your traffic flow going to be from the house? This should lead to the shallow end. Keep in mind the main traffic flow will be from that door of your house to the steps in the shallow end. How's the pool going to look from the house? Can Mama see all the kids by just looking out the window? Now that we've got a good idea where the pool needs to be positioned, let's go ahead and stake it out. Refer to the dig specification sheet that's been provided with your pool kit. In some cases, the pool can be squared with the house or a fence. In other cases, setting the pool off at an angle may look the best. Although the dig sheet provides many diagonal dimensions, here's a formula that always comes in handy when squaring a right triangle. The square of the hypotenuse or diagonal of a right triangle is equal to the sum of the squares of the other two sides. Sound confusing? Let's take a look. First, measure side A and square it. Then measure side B and square it. Then add the two together and take the square root. That'll equal the diagonal or the hypotenuse of a right triangle. Now that the pool is staked out and marked out, it's time to locate the pump and filter pad. This should be within 30 foot of the edge of the pool. Elevation here is also important. Keep the pad within 12 inches of the top of the pool. This will help when winterizing and in circulation. Now we've got the pool staked out and painted. The outside of the concrete is marked. Now it's time to set the elevation. What we'll do is we'll go to the highest part of the yard on the outside edge of the concrete and come up about 6 inches. That'll put the top of our pool right about here. Once your pool is staked out, you must check for utility lines before digging. Call your local utility companies and make sure they come out and mark the lines in your backyard. It's not uncommon for a gas, electric, or sewer line to run through the pool area. If this is the case, you need to first make arrangements to have that utility rerouted before excavation can start. Once you've located your pool, staked it out, set the elevation, obtained the necessary permits, and checked for utility lines, you're ready to start the excavation. This is probably something you'll want to subcontract. The best way to find the backhoe operator of choice is to visit your local backhoe dealership. They know everything about everyone in the excavation business. Here we recommend seeking out the top gun. Don't cut corners, go for experience, and try to find someone who's actually dug a pool before. If your pool's going to lay flat in the yard and it'll be located relatively low to the existing grade, you may need to haul off some dirt. Most pools are 8 to 12 inches out of the ground on the uphill side and 12 to 24 inches out of the ground on the lower side. Today's pool is a Grecian True L. We're going to start in the shallow end and work our way to the deep end. Most of the dirt in this situation needs to be located around the deep end of the pool so we can raise that part of the yard. As we stated in our last chapter, the way to set the proper elevation for the top of this pool is to find the highest point of the yard on the outside edge of the concrete, and the top of the pool is going to be 6 inches above that point. Today we're using a laser transit, and we're going to set the elevation for the ledge that these wall panels are going to sit on. The wall panels are 3 foot 6 inches tall, and on top of that, there's 2.5 inches of coping, which makes 3 foot 8.5 inches. Okay. This will mark our laser transit, and where our tripod is set up is going to be 2 foot 5 inches. We're raising this 6 inches, which will give us 1 foot 11, and we're going right down 3 foot 8.5. And Doug, that'll give us 5 foot 7.5 inches. At 5 foot 7.5 inches, this is where we're digging until our laser transit makes our handy dandy beeper beep. Let's take a look and see if we've reached our grade yet. Now that we've established the ledge grade, it'll give our excavator a good idea how the rest of the shallow end needs to lay. As your excavator moves on through the pool, it's a good idea to come behind him and set pins that mark the front of the panel line. Also double check his elevations. As you can see right here, we're right on the money. As you can see from the location of the backhoe, it's not going to be long before Doug's going to have trouble reaching from where he is sitting all the way up to one of these pins marking the breakover. So we've got a trick up our sleeves. Instead of waiting until we dig all the way down to the bottom of the hopper to mark a point, we're going to mark one halfway down. In order to do this, we're going to take 3 measurements and we're going to take half of all 3, and we're going to mark a point. The length of the slope is F. F is 14 feet. And so we're going to measure over from the shallow end break, we're going to measure over 7 feet. To find a point along this line, we're going to measure in, instead of 4 foot 3 inches, we're going to measure in 2 foot 1.5 inches. And we're going to measure down 2 foot 4 inches instead of 4 foot 8 inches. From the distance of this stake to our deep end mark on our plans is 14 feet. So we're going to come in 7 feet. Now we're going to measure in 2 feet 1.5 inches, and we're going to drop down. Go ahead and drop a pebble, Doug. 2 feet 1.5. We'll see right where we are. And instead of it being 4 foot 8 inches, we're looking for 2 foot 4 inches. And we are at 2 foot 4.5 inches. Now we'll keep that measurement and we'll go all the way across the slope following this string line. Now it's time to set the first corner pin in the hopper. We're going to measure off our side, 4-3, use our Arkansas plumb bob, and we should be 4-9. We measure right across, 4-9 it is. As you can see, we're finished, and we've got the pool strung out. We've got lots of string. Looks like lots of string, and what this string is for is to give us a straight line. We're going to take our bottom material and bring it up to the string. It's also going to show us if we've got any high spots. Now right here, we've got lots of room underneath here, so our bottom material's coming up here. We're in good shape here, except for my dirt clock. We're fine all the way down. We've got strings coming up the valley, and I X'd them on the slope. I hope your digger does as good a job and your hole turns out like this. If it is, he needs a tip. Step 1 is to lay the walls out around the perimeter of the pool. Refer back to your plumbing diagram and be sure to locate the skimmer and return panels at the right places. If your pool is polymer, as ours is, remove the wedges from the braces, butt the walls together, insert the brace, and drive in the cinch wedges. On some polymer pools or steel pools, you'll need to use the bolts provided to secure the walls together. Now we'll install the steps. Set the step height by placing a piece of coping on an adjoining wall and raising the step until it's approximately 1/4 to 1/2 inch above the coping. Then line up the front of the step with the front face of the adjoining panel and secure it with C-clamps. Now drill 5 or 6 holes using a 3/8 inch drill bit through the step and adjoining wall. Secure both of them together using the stainless steel bolts and washers provided. These steps are manufactured by Fort Wayne Pools and are of superior quality and rigidity. Because of this, you'll only need to support under one tread. This can be done by either stacking concrete blocks or by cutting 2 pieces of 1.5 inch PVC pipe and securing them under the top tread. Now with a carpenter's level, see that the steps slope away from the pool about 1 inch. Now square the pool by seeing that the diagonals are the same and stake in the corners. Next, look down the straight wall of the pool and line up the bottom of the panels. Once they're lined up in a straight line, stake them in place with rebar. If you're using steel panels, you'll have pre-drilled holes at the bottom of the panels. If you're using polymer, you'll have to drill your own. 1 or 2 pieces of rebar per panel will suffice. Next, we'll level the walls by finding the highest point along the top of the panels. This will set our grade. At each joint, we'll raise the wall to match that height. Shim up the walls by using a rock or pieces of wood. Now don't worry if this seems a bit flimsy. The footing we pour behind the wall will secure everything in place. Straighten the top of the walls by using a string or by looking down the wall from one end. At each joint, secure the brace once the wall is lined up. If you're going to be off on this step, be sure that the wall's leaning too far out instead of too far in. Set the main drain in place by digging in a ditch with a pick or a mattock from under the deep end wall to the center of the deep end. Feed the pipe under the panel and lay it in the ditch, seeing that it remains below the grade. Set the main drain elevation equal to the floor of the pool. Plumb it in and tape off the face of the main drain as well as the open pipe that's now sticking up in the overdig. Now we're ready to pour the concrete collar or footing. Take time for some last-minute checks to make sure the walls are square, plumb, and straight. Now we need to form up the 3-foot by 6-foot pump and filter pad. Locating it near the AC unit is the most common place, but don't forget, elevation here is paramount. The elevation of the pad needs to be close to the top of the pool for both normal operation and ease of winterizing. If pouring the pad up against the house, leave a space between the pad of the concrete and the house. This will reduce any noise or vibration. Now we're ready for concrete. First pour the pump and filter pad, and then pour the concrete footing around the pool. Use 2,500 psi concrete and be sure to work it well around any voids and braces. As a rule of thumb, the minimum concrete needed for a footing of a 16 by 32 is about 5 yards. An 18 by 36 will require about 6 yards, and a 20 by 40 will require about 7 yards. After the footing is poured, use your shovel to smooth out the concrete. This will allow your plumbing to lay flat on the footing and eliminate any need for bedding material such as sand. Here's a shortcut that's often used. If you're feeling confident and you've got enough help, you may want to put a 2x4 across the shallow end at your break line and go ahead and pour your entire shallow end with concrete. Now you'll want this concrete to be as smooth as possible, so take your time to get all the bumps out and burn it in real smooth with your trowels. The coping provided for your pool has a dual purpose. It's used to act as a form for the concrete apron you'll pour around the pool at the end of this project, and it's also used to hold the liner up. First, install the corners, then the straight pieces. A hacksaw can be used to cut the coping to the exact length. Allow a small gap between the pieces. About a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch is plenty. Then slide on a coping clip to dress it up. Keeping the coping good and straight is essential. This may require someone looking down the long wall of the pool while someone else makes the appropriate adjustment. Use the self-tapping screws to secure the coping to the top of the panels and put one about every 12 inches or so. If you're using brick or rock coping or some other trim around the edge of your pool, you'll want to refer to Chapter 17, Cantilever Coping. Refer to the plumbing diagram in your installation manual for the proper location of the returns and skimmers. The returns require cutting a 3-inch round hole in the polymer pool walls 12 to 14 inches down from the top of the panel. You'll need a 3-inch round hole saw and a drill for this. Install the return fittings by hand tightening first, then give a quarter turn with some channel locks. Once again, refer to the plumbing diagram for the proper location of the skimmers. If you've purchased a steel pool, these skimmer openings are already cut. If you've got a polymer pool, locate the skimmer template on the back of the polymer panel. Take a gasket from the skimmer box and mark out the inside square opening. Then mark each screw hole, including the center top and center bottom retaining screw holes. Use a 3/16 inch drill bit to drill out the center top and center bottom holes. Now, with a 3/8 inch drill bit, drill a hole in each faceplate screw hole. Then drill each corner of the square you just marked out. Now take a Sawzall or a keyhole saw and cut out the square hole. Be sure to cut this opening plenty big. Next, install the skimmers using the 2 retaining screws at the center top and center bottom 3/16 inch retaining screw holes. All the plumbing, including the skimmers, the returns, and the main drain, all will be plumbed down to run along the footing outside the wall. These will run toward the ditch that was dug over to the pump and filter pad. The light is best located in the center of the deep end of the pool, shining toward the shallow end. Cut a 3-inch round hole 18 to 24 inches down from the top of the wall. Next, install the hardware as shown in the instructions. Notice the 3/4 inch threaded female fitting on the back. Here you will attach a 3/4 inch watertight conduit, which will be plumbed away from the pool over to a junction box which is located 6 inches above the concrete. If hydrotherapy jets are being used in the steps or a swim out, be sure to cut a 2.5 inch hole and not a 3-inch hole like we have in the returns. Then tee them together and run a separate line over to the pump and filter pad. Once all the fittings are installed, you can now run the pipes. Use 1.5 inch Schedule 40 PVC. Don't be tempted to use that cheap poly pipe. Finally, another step we recommend subcontracting. First, double check the string lines to be sure there's at least room for 2 inches of bottom material below the strings. Now, you've got 2 choices to select from for bottom material. We recommend the first, which is a grout mix consisting of 7 parts masonry sand and 1 part Portland cement. Masonry sand is important because it has no pebbles and is very clean. Add very little water. Some concrete companies will bring this out and they'll call it dry pack. Absolutely no water is added at the plant, and just enough water is sprayed on the chute to get the grout out of the truck. If this isn't available in your area, just get a truckload of masonry sand delivered and 20 to 30 bags of Portland cement and mix it with a portable cement mixer. Hose the pile of sand down good with the garden hose, and that's all the water it gets. Shovel in 7 scoops of sand to 1 scoop of Portland cement.